I don't know how to describe it other than like a demon type of sound.
But it's silhouetted, hulking, every bit of 5.5 feet wide, 13 to 14 foot tall, pitch black.
The one thing that ran through my mind when I had this encounter was I don't have a big enough gun.
Your host, two-time witness and field researcher for more than 40 years, William Jevning. Welcome to Creek Devil.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Bigfoot Breakdown. Today we're going to talk about, this was a story from Battle Mountain, Nevada, and I don't have, this is interesting, David. It's kind of like, apart from, the H.A. Miller letter that we did not long ago.
Uh-huh.
I just have to wonder if this is somehow connected to that. But let me go through it. This is interesting. I don't recall exactly where I got this. It's something I pulled out of my files. But it starts out 7 August 1999, Battle Mountain, Nevada. An anonymous government employee states, I observed an animal wounded by fire moving on all fours, not like a bear, more like ape. Firefighters captured the animal, contacted local vet and medical doctor, U.S. Department of Fish and Wildlife, Department of the Interior, and Bureau of Land Management on the scene. The animal was tranquilized and moved to an unknown location. Those at the scene were told not to talk about what they saw. The animal was approximately 7.5 feet tall, long, human-like arms and legs, face not like a man or ape, but mixed between. Genitalia, male, uncircumcised and human-like, hair covering most of the body except chest. Chest has hair but sparse. Hands with sparse hair, palms bare with 5 digits with human opposable thumb of, and 5th digit. Multiple burns. Speech, attempted to communicate with caregiver once it realized they were attempting to care for it. Multiple burns on hands, feet, legs, and body, some 2nd and 3rd degree burns using rule of nines. Approximately 45% of the body was burned. Now, doesn't that sound a lot like, remember in the Burns document where he was supposedly called to a place where there were the 3 dead creatures, but they had regenerative abilities, which made him think it was alive, but it actually wasn't.
Yep.
Okay. Doctor and vet were working together to provide care, but moving it to an unknown location locally. This notice given in violation of orders given by BLM, DOI, and DF and W. Witnesses numbering in the area of Witnesses numbered in the area of 30 to 25. Word is out in the government agencies and among the firefighters. Since an MD was called out, many thought a firefighter was injured. Please note that I am a government employee, one of the listed agencies fighting brush and wildfire in the area of Nevada. Large-scale fire, approximately 70,000 acres burned, and under orders not to disclose the information. Protected area. I believe a cover-up is in the making. People need to know the animal needs to be kept alive and studied and released in protected area. The Battle Mountain Complex fire has extended to 180,000 acres by Monday and had 610 personnel fighting it at that time. Now, it's interesting. I fought fire back in 1990 in southern Oregon. We were called out to a fire in the Burns, Oregon area, and it blew up overnight to 86,000 acres, and there were 6,000 of us in the base camp. So I'm not sure a fire that large, what 600 people were going to do, but there were 6,000 of us fighting that fire.
Yeah.
Approximately 20 people were in the immediate vicinity of the incident. All were debriefed and informed in no uncertain terms that the incident was not to be discussed. There has not been a word about the incident at the BLM Fire HQ. The incident... Yeah, see now, here's another discrepancy. They talk about the Bureau of Land Management Fire Headquarters. When there's a big fire like that, it's usually FEMA that takes over those things, and they have a combined team that heads those. They have a I'm trying to think what the person in charge was called. The incident commander. They have an incident commander, because I got to know the people. I was one of the crew squad bosses of our fire crew. The fire crew has the fire boss, and then there's two squad bosses that are in charge of half the 23-person crew. So having been a sergeant in the Army not too many years before that, I was still in scrounging mode to get my people, things that we needed. So I would make trips up to the headquarters and, talked with the people in charge up there, and I got to know the incident commander and some of the other people. So this is kind of a discrepancy here in this story. The incident happened in the early afternoon. The injured patient apparently wandered within sight of a fire crew and was then surrounded. The patient seemed to know that he was captured because he soon gave up. He just gave up. The patient sat down on his buttocks, giving no evidence of a will to resist. Singed hair. The patient was laid on the ground at first. His injuries were rather serious, including burns to his hands, feet, legs, and trunk, as well as much singed hair. It didn't take long for medical services to get to the scene. The attending medical team included a regular MD for the fire crews, a vet, and one more paramedics. The vet was taken aback at working on a creature so human-like, and he is reported to have allowed the physician to do most of the work. At some point, Demerol and morphine were administered. The patient was placed on a spine board, which was too small. He was then placed on a regular ambulance stretcher. The sides were left down because parts of his body hung over too far. His feet hung off the end. And I've heard that before. And again, I think that was part of the Miller thing. Mm-hmm. Bowel sounds. A cut down was performed to obtain an intravenous line, and fluids were administered during the treatment of his wounds and the efforts at life support. The patient communicated with moans, groans, and grumbling. Bowel sounds were heard. No language-like vocalizations were heard. The patient responded to touch, specifically patting and stroking, to calm him. You're not going to find an ape or monkey responding the same way. The patient was especially responsive to a young Native American woman who started administering to him right from the very beginning. The patient was removed from the scene in the back of a utility truck, not an ambulance. The ambulance would have alerted townsfolk to the possibility, news reporters thinking that a firefighter had been injured. No one would follow a nondescript van. The total time from initial sighting to extraction was estimated at 3 hours. Blood was leaking. There was no urination, defecation, or vomit at the scene. The patient did not eat anything at the time. Serum and blood were leaking from the burned areas of the body. The area of the arm on which the cut down was performed was shaved. The hair was probably fell to the ground. There was no significant blood from the cut down site and from the subsequent insertion of the venous line. And some of that blood dripped to the ground. No one knows where the patient was taken. No video cameras were on scene to film any aspect of the incident. The fire commander was present. He had a camera, and he did record what he saw. The patient was described as being about 7 feet tall, give or take a few inches. No weight estimate. Equine odor. Most of the body is covered with brownish hair about 2 inches in length. No gray hairs were evident. There are no mats noted on the coat. There is an odor about the patient. It is not an especially obnoxious odor, which I find that a little odd, to say the least. A natural odor, but a hard time describing it. It is similar to a strong equine odor or horse. The head is not sloped. The forehead is heavy boned. Lips large but human-like. The ears human-like. See, now that's another problem. Well, let me read this and we'll go back to that. Lips are large but human-like. The ears human-like and tight to the head, with earlobe attached, not dangling. The patient is strong-jawed, no mention of color of eyes, but thought to be brown. The head is about 2 times the size of a human head. The hair on the face, there is hair on the face, but not on the palms or soles of the feet. Okay, let me mention the the lips. Now, one of the things you notice with Sasquatch, humans, excuse me, lips in humans are kind of a unique feature. You know, no other primate really has lips like humans do. And
Right.
and with reported Sasquatch sightings.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Creek Devil. If you or anyone you know has had an encounter with these creatures, please contact us at williamjevning@yahoo.com. That's William, Jevning, @yahoo.com. All communication is confidential. Join us for another program next week. And until then, keep your eyes open out there.